Welcome back, everybody, to Tech Charged, a Turn Down for What Live podcast. Joining me tonight is Mr. Worldwide, Jace Craft Miller. Great to see you, buddy.
3 years ago to this day, I believe. Actually, we were in Norway. Was it 3 years or 2 years? I can't remember, but yeah.
Yeah, I've
flying to Norway, I should say.
I am finally getting to go to Norway in July, so awesome. I will get to experience a little bit. Nothing like what you got to do, but it will be.
Well, you'll probably be there a little longer than I was, though. So I don't know about that.
Yeah, we're heading to the Netherlands for a couple days, and then we're taking a cruise ship up to Norway. If I'm lucky, I'm going to try to get some time with some EVs. I'm going to try to connect with William roaming Norway while I'm there. Yes. He's more, I think, inland than where I'm going to be, but if there's an opportunity, we're going to try to see if we can connect. But I definitely want to get to experience the country that is known for just having so much great EV adoption.
Yeah, it's going to be cool to have you see that. And I mean, just even 2 years ago, 3 years ago, whatever it was, I mean, how crazy it was then. And I'm sure now it's even more so. And it's such a beautiful country too, just, taking the EV part out of it. It's stunningly beautiful. The people were so kind. And I can't say enough good about it.
Yeah, this will be my first opportunity to be out there in that part of the world. And it'll be great to have the kids to see that. We've been to Alaska as a family. We're getting ready for a road trip to the Grand Canyon and see some family for Easter. So just trying to give them that kind of experience, getting to see parts of the world and things outside of our own little bubble, and I think that'll be really great.
That is the 2,000-mile trip this weekend?
This weekend, yeah. It's leaving early tomorrow morning, about 2,500 miles in total. We'll head to Arizona to have Easter with family coming in from all over the place, up in Minnesota, out in, I think, Virginia, all kinds of just everybody kind of coming into a big Airbnb that we've got, all the cousins, awesome. My sister-in-law that's out here in the Bay Area, our family from the Bay Area, just everybody kind of coming together in one spot. And then after that, we're going to head to the Grand Canyon for a couple days, going to take a train into the Grand Canyon, which will be pretty cool.
Okay, yeah.
And then head back home, and then I'm going to spend a week down in Southern California at ACT Expo. So if anybody's at ACT Expo, I'll be there. Josh and Jesse will be there. I know Brandon Flash is going to be there. Awesome. Kyle was there last year. That was the first time I ever got to meet Kyle in person, which was really cool. So I'm not sure if he's going this year, but he tends to show up for those kind of things. So yeah, and those are always fun because it's like, for me, it's a combination of work and hobby where, I go there. ACT Expo is really focused on fleet transportation, not retail. So I get to see all the big trucks and the stuff that we use at my 9 to 5 at FedEx. And so we get to see the Bright Drop, the Exos, the Rivian, the big trucks, right? The Tesla Semi, the Volvo, the Kentworth, so many of those big things. And then, of course, Jesse falls in love with everything hydrogen. So we always spend a few days looking at hydrogen. God bless him, man. That's his thing.
That's awesome.
I see hydrogen.
Everybody's got their thing, right?
Everybody's got their thing, man. It's kind of like when my daughter wants to do something with K-pop. I'm like, fine, that's your thing. Yeah, there you go. Hydrogen is Jesse's K-pop.
There you go. Quote of the day.
I'm sure he's gonna love when he hears that. Martin is on a road trip of his own. He is learning to work on Tesla batteries, which that is pretty cool.
So cool. Yeah, I was just telling Justin about it. He's like, "Where's Martin this week?" And I was kind of telling him about it. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, at some point I'd love to get like an older Tesla, like a classic, like a 2012, 2013, something with the classic screen that's kind of like ours,
Yeah. Vertical.
Yeah, with just the sunroof, not the full panoramic. Like, I just want one of those older ones, and I want to get if I ever come across the opportunity, I'd love to have a Martin rebuilds Tesla. I just think it would be a cool thing to have one from him and to have it be rebuilt and have it be one of those classics that didn't care about the warranty, just an excuse to fly out to Kansas, maybe drive it back across the country. And I'm sure supercharging is trash, and it'll take me a few days, but it'd be a fun road trip,
that'd be fun. Or an OG Roadster, something crazy.
I don't know if he can get a hold of an OG Roadster, but he seems to find like Model S's that are really good deals, and the batteries have died, so he's learning how to get all that stuff. I mean, he's just gifted, man. There's people in the world that just have that kind of talent, and
Yep.
he's one of those guys. So he will be back with us next week probably, and I'm going to try to join in from Arizona. It'll be on my iPad or something, not on this setup here, but we'll find a way to jump on with you guys and kind of get an update on how that went with him.
Yeah, no, that sounds great. I think that'll be awesome to hear. I know I think it sounds like it's going well. So nothing too exciting to report, which is probably good.
Yeah, it's great to see him towing those big batteries too, big old trailer behind him. And again, just one of those examples like we've seen from others where people think that EVs can't do certain things, and he's out there doing it regularly.
Absolutely. Towing lightnings with lightnings.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Go. Yeah, it's where do we want to start today, man? We have a couple topics. We're going to talk about why EV messaging I think is failing a little bit. We've got the 2025 Lightning to cover.
I kind of thought maybe we start off with just talking about how popular Lightning is becoming. With the good news, right? Like it's just I feel like everybody we talk to right now is looking for. I mean, we've seen new, Lightnings, used Lightnings, kind of really across the gambit. I wouldn't say there's. For a while there, I think Flash was really popular when it first launched. I think we saw a lot of people, going towards Flash. But now there's so much more of a used market, and we're really starting to see people kind of, like branded Flash, finding these great deals, for some really nice trucks.
Yeah, I joked the other day because there was Tom on X who had a whole video about all of us like, hey, I'm kind of looking at the Lightning. I'm looking at some different options. And Kyle had just posted, I've always loved the Lightning, and I'm starting to give the Lightning a look. And I know he loves the Rivian. He loves his Cybertruck. He just got his Cybertruck bought back, or he's in the middle of that. There's a video of him unwrapping it. And and so, I posted jokingly, I was like, first we got Brandon Flash, well, first we got Test Calendar.
Yes. Yeah.
So we conquered.
That was the original, the OG.
Right? Test Calendar out there, stole him away. Like the guy's name literally has Tesla in it. So that was awesome to kind of get him on board, embracing it. And then, Brandon Flash got into a Lightning. Now here's, Tom talking about it. Tom Malogny is always doing there, but this is Tom. What's his Suburban? Is it Tom Suburban?
Sure. Tom's Suburbs or Suburb.
Yeah. Big Suburban.
He's got an I Am Rivian. He's got a few of them now. But yeah.
So he's looking, and Kyle Connor's looking. I'm like, everybody's joining, everybody's coming around. What we've known since 2021 before they was even released, tracking these things.
Right. I mean, it's fascinating to see sort of people come back to it. I think there was a lot of excitement for what Cybertruck could bring, a lot of excitement for what Silverado could bring, just in general with a lot of the competition that came up. But it's funny. It's funny to see that, the Frunk and those Pro Power onboard and those things that Ford, I think, did really well from the get-go. And I think I kind of touched on this on Twitter the other day, or X, that part of the reasoning for me is I think the F-150 was just such a good platform already that, it's been iterated, so many times over the years. If you go to Dearborn and you do the Rouge Tour factory and you see, how, F-150 has really been built, the last few decades, better and better, and the things that they've kind of done to, make that platform the best that it can be. It's pretty astounding to see, but I think that's one of the big reasons that it has been so successful.
Yeah, I think everybody's looking for that kind of unicorn EV truck, that thing that is affordable, practical, 400 plus miles, dependable, and they're all looking. And they're like, is it Rivian? Well, Rivian doesn't have 240 out. It starts in the, 70s up and on up. It's a little bit smaller platform. Great brand, right? And then, you looked at Cybertruck, and then everybody was excited about Cybertruck, and then it came out, and you were like, oh, that's not what I expected. And then it finally, after delays and delays and delays, way overpriced. Then I think the latest kind of blip was hey, here's the single motor. The single motor is what I had reserved. That's what I was hoping was going to be a might affordable wheelhouse. I had reserved it before the Lightning was even announced. That's how long, that it's been. And so it gets announced, and it's single motor. That was anticipated. No power outlets at all, which was part of why Rivian was a deal breaker for me. But not only no power outlet, no 240 is one thing, which to me was already a deal breaker, but none at all, man. Like,
and it's sort of like that Chevy decision, GM decision, I should say, to put the charging port in the rear of the truck, but have the tow angle for the marketing, and the highest battery. I mean, what's the point of putting the 220 kilowatt hour battery in there if you've got to unhook your trailer every time? I mean, it sort of reminds me of that decision in a way. It's the work truck trim, but no work truck features, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have the tonneau cover to keep stuff safe. You don't have the power outlets. I don't. For me personally, I don't care the single motor, the lower power, the lower 0 to 60. I don't need that stuff. I don't care about the cloth seats. I'd have been perfectly happy with cloth seats and an XLT and that kind of stuff. And
and I think that's one of the things that kind of it plays in Lightning's hands, like you're kind of mentioning, is that and the one thing that as previous standard range Lariat brother of yours, I loved about my Lariat standard range was that it was quick as heck. Yes, not quite as quick as the extended range, but plenty quick for a full size pickup truck.
Yeah,
it had all of the bells and whistles. Very similar to you. We were just missing little things, obviously, like rain sensing wipers, rear heated seats, just little tiny things here and there. But nothing that was a deal breaker. Really. I mean, I know for you, kind of Blue Cruise in a certain sense, but not. It's still a very well optioned truck, even without Blue Cruise. In pack. So.
Yeah, the value is solid, all the way around. And
I mean, think about a Pro extended range, how quick that thing would be.
Yeah. That was what I was looking for at the time, was a Pro, Pro extended range, but then they weren't selling it. And I was like, I'll make I'll go with the Pro, $40,000. That's a great value. And then when I went to order, all the East Coast and Midwest guys, you guys got the order banks first. And by the time they came out west, there were train strikes going on at the time, and
so much, exactly, so much going on.
The COVID stuff was still hanging and lingering. So finally, we got some trains of trucks coming our way, and it was either Lariat standard range or nothing in terms of my budget, and that was already a stretch. Jim chiming in. It seems like every day someone new on X is buying a Lightning. Yeah, I think it's because
on Threads too. It's even more so almost there. I mean, it's crazy every day. And Mach-E. Really, I see Mach-E a lot too.
Mach-E's always been a good mover, but now really especially with just some of the drama around, it's like that is the next choice. If you're you're not going to look at why, it still is the overwhelming favorite. It especially if you're lucky enough to be able to get into a GT. That GT with the Magna Ride is something special, and every time I see a rally, it just stops me.
Well, and it's interesting too, because it's put Ford back into solidly pretty much into that number 2 spot. I mean, if you break it out by brand, obviously, if you separate, I think GM's still real close, or 2 if you count Cadillac lumped in with them. It's pretty close, but solidly, if you split by brand, that Ford is right back in that number 2 slot. And Hyundai and Kia really have kind of fallen back quite a bit, which is very surprising.
Be curious to see what happens with them and tariffs, that whole craziness, if that's going to hurt them. Hyundai Kia make great stuff. I don't know what the deal. They all have good lineups. But it shows the strength of the Mach-E's been around for a while. The Lightning now coming up on 3 years now. So still holds up. It still holds up. They haven't had to do refreshes. They've made little modifications, added some enhancements with software, added heat pumps. They've done some different things. They've kind of tried to find that balance. They've done a lot of incentives with getting the price down to drive that value. They got a great, it's every day that I see a Lightning out there in fleet doing something in my area. Our waste management has it. Our city governments have it. Our national parks have it. I don't know if you see a lot of that in the Midwest, the fleet Lightnings.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of it. It was pretty quick right away, but we have I've seen Pepsi, I've seen the Cuyahoga Valley National Park, I've seen, very similar to you. I mean, we are definitely seeing them in fleet. I will say we don't see, it's becoming more popular now. I see a ton of Mach-E's, but when it comes to Lightnings, retail lightnings, not as often, maybe like once every couple days, but as far as fleet, work lightnings, we see a lot of them.
Yeah, and I think it's the lightning goes under the radar a bit too, because if you're not paying attention, it can drive by you and you wouldn't necessarily know it. And
and the newer ice trucks actually have more similar taillights to the lightning as well, where they kind of have that like dip in them, so it looks like a curve, so it kind of looks like it. Yeah,
and hopefully that helps bring the price of things down if they're starting to make the same or share parts and get higher volume. I don't know if there's exact like for like swap, but it does look similar.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering too, like how, if this helps Ford, if Ford looks at it as like, we don't want to sell any more lightnings, and I would get that too if that was the case. But I have to think it's sort of, there's probably pros and cons to it, right? I think that it's probably it's probably somewhere in the middle. But I think they want to sell a certain amount, but they don't want to sell too many, but they kind of just want to keep, kind of flowing where they are. And I think they're in a good rhythm right now.
Yeah. Do we want to try to pull up the 25 Lightning and take a look at some of
what
let's do it. There's are you able to do that, or do you want me to do that? I can't. I don't know what
you'll have to. Yeah. Oh, maybe I can. Can you do it? I don't want to mess it up.
You can try
to. Where it is?
Yeah, I've got it. I've got it up. I just didn't know if you wanted to drive that. But I will.
Yeah, if you just drive it, I'll comment.
Yeah. So
there we go. Look, see, boom, antimatter blue right off the bat. Wow.
Antimatter blue. Is that antimatter blue right there?
That is antimatter blue.
Yep. See, they got the angle right on that. It's
yes.
You got to get the sun shining just right.
Yep.
So right off the bat, like this is starting at 62, right? That there's so many different, and you got the employee pricing going right now. You still got the tax incentives going for most people. Yeah. This talks about the savings. This is, really comparing it to gas vehicles, up to 320 miles, under 4 seconds, 0 to 60. I regularly see a 3.8 from the extended range.
Yep. We do as well.
And then
what did you see on your standard range area? I never really got to a good gauge on mine, to be honest.
I think 4.1 is what I was seeing on mine. Yeah.
I guess I got with 4.5, but I never really was able to really truly get a good test. So
yeah, I don't do it. It's funny. It's kind of one of those carnival tricks, right? Like you do it when you have somebody in the car. Funny enough, I did it in Lucid's parking lot. One of the greatest things is we did an event at Lucid, and I was doing drives in theirs, and just I thought it had an artificial sound at first. This is going back a couple years, and I thought it was one of those that had an artificial sound, and they were like, "Oh no, that's just the sound of the motors." I'm like, "Oh wow, that's loud." And like, "Oh, the Lightning doesn't do that." I'm like, "Oh no, have you never been in the Lightning?" And they're like, "Oh no, none of us have been in the Lightning." So I took two truckloads of Lucid people into the Lightning, and they had not been in one. And I guess it's not really their market, so I guess it makes sense they wouldn't be cross comparing a Lightning. And this was on a weekend, so their parking lot was empty. And we went kind of to the side of the building, and we just stopped and did a 0 to 60 through the parking lot, and just letting them feel the torque, and and then we drove around, let them hear how quiet it was, and everybody remarks just how smooth it was, how quiet it was, and I think that really catches you.
It really does. It's the number one thing that I can remember. Actually, the first one that I drove was the Platinum on the Ford testing grounds. And I didn't realize it was a Platinum until I actually went back and looked at my pictures the other day. And I was like, oh, it was a Platinum. And
funny that then you end up in a Platinum, like it was meant to
be.
I
know. Yeah, it was funny. I'm like, it did look familiar. I kind of remembered once I sat it with the white and black stitching. I'm like, oh yeah, okay, this makes sense. But I mean, it's just how quiet. And the test track was, not a bump on it. It was smooth as glass. But it just, you don't hear a thing. I think people don't understand that too. I've watched some videos of like people drive. I think it was your video, the Cybertruck, and you could hear the whirl in the background, which is just fascinating.
Yeah, I people don't believe me, and I'll be like, look, I've been in the Cybertruck, I've been in the Rivian, I've been in the Lucid, much more expensive vehicles, and the Lightning is quieter. It's
absolutely.
And the Rivian, even you'll get not only the motor sound, but you'll get the compressor sound.
Yes, I've heard that.
And so there's multiple things there. I don't know. Part of it, I'm sure, is the design and the sound dampening and insulation they put in it, and some of it, I think, is just the size of that truck. The way it's designed, your front motors and your rear motor, especially, is way behind you, and so I think all those things help. You know, the Silverado and stuff, if it has the mid gate, those tend to be pretty loud.
Yep.
But this is my favorite thing right here, man. Like, I think it's funny because people talk about, you know, there's a NEMA 1450 in the back of the Cybertruck.
Right.
And I'm like, I mean, that's cute for charging another truck. That's great if you're Kyle Connor and you're out there doing range testing, and that's fantastic. But if you're on a job site, you're not plugging in a NEMA 1450. You're plugging in a twist, you know, your compressor, or not compressor, but your generator.
Yep, so, exactly. Your generator. Yep. I kind of agree with you. I mean, it's cool party trick, but I mean, you'd be using adapters, and I mean, I don't know. I mean, I just think you know, cool, different and two different, you know, things. But yeah, man.
I think they did a good job.
How many people are charging other EVs, you know,
right,
constantly? I just don't think, you know, that's happening.
I've done it for the fun of it at, you know, some EV events, just because it was funny to show that it could.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then, you know, here they're talking about the employee pricing for everyone. That is the A plan. Was that, am I remembering right? A plan?
Correct. Yep, that is A plan. Yep.
And then I think,
the best that you can get.
You just have to go out there, and you have to, obviously, the thing with the A plan is it's only dealers that are honoring it, and then sometimes there are incentives on top of that. Sometimes there's not. Sometimes there's you know, financing deals. Sometimes there isn't. I found that that's really market to market as I've kind of looked at some of those. And
like people have private offers that you can get on top of that. We actually forgot to use our private offer when we bought my truck, so I'm really sad because we had $2,500 sitting out there that we forgot to use. So
talk about the private offer for those that don't know what that is. How does that work? Because I've never seen a private offer, but I've heard the term.
Yeah, so I'm not sure. It must be regional as well. We've received them quite often. I'm not exactly sure if they come through the Northeast Ohio Dealers Association through Ford, exactly where, but I believe ours was like 2,500. But I mean, remember, I think we've bought, now it's 10 Ford vehicles since 2015, I want to say. So they know us well, I will say. But you know, yeah, you get a private offer. I think ours was valid through like June. And it was just $2,500 on top of any really incentive that you want, so, or that you can get. So,
and some of the screaming deals out there, I know we're gonna kind of build one here and take a look at some of the stuff that they've done, but some of the real screaming deals are the ones that people are finding, like Brandon, who got a used one, and the miles weren't too bad on it, and they just go for great value. They've already depreciated from someone else. Or the one that I saw recently that was just awesome. It was a 2023, you know, old, what is it? New inventory, old stock, I think they call it, or whatever. It had just been at a dealer somewhere in the middle of nowhere. And I'm like, dude, I'm all about flying out somewhere to pick up a great deal and driving it back for the fun of that drive. I mean,
oh no, absolutely.
The maiden voyage of the truck being from someplace in Idaho or anywhere. I don't care where it is. Like, if you're looking to find one of those.
Yeah, and just buying one, Ford's done a lot of work with buying the trucks and having the features become available when you buy it. I remember when, you know, we took a delivery of our Mach-E, and when we took delivery of Justin's Lightning at first, you know, Blue Cruise didn't work for our drive. We had a 2-hour drive home, and Blue Cruise didn't work. And, you know, we were kind of disappointed by that. You know, we wanted to use it right away on our drive home. And, you know, some of the app stuff was a little funky, and that's just simply not the case anymore. You know, we had about a 50-minute drive home when we bought the Platinum, and I was able to, in the parking lot, set everything up, you know, so much quicker than before. I had Blue Cruiser up and, you know, running. I had, you know, phone as a key up and my profile set up within just a matter of minutes. So that was nice to see recently that has really been improved.
Well, what do you want to build, man? Where do we
I figured we'd just go through real quick on each trim, because there's just a couple things, you know, on each one that's a little different. So I figured we'd just go through them. You know, if you want to kind of just drill down on each of them, there, and we'll just kind of. So the big thing really on the XLT that I noticed right away was the new wheels. So you'll see that.
Love those wheels.
Yeah, those look really good.
I see people they're powder coating their wheels basically to get this look, you know.
I think Sergio just did like his Lariat wheels today.
Yeah,
powder coated on black.
it's a good
So yeah,
look.
really nothing too crazy different. Obviously, yeah, you'll have the standard range battery on there. This is interesting. So now for the 2025s, you have a mobile power cord and fast charging adapter bundle. So that is new for the 2025. So they are shipping the Ford and Electron NAX adapter. So that's good to see that. Our friend Logan on X there, he bought a 2025, I believe it was an XLT. I think he has the black wheels on it as well, and his included the NAX adapter too. So good to see that they're getting a lot more inventory of that, and that was good to see. So I think
Sir Garden's a lot. Awesome name, by the way. And this I got the over the air update
okay,
and fixed
nice.
the problem with the driver's window. I was kind of making fun of this update because I have not had a problem with the driver's window or with any of the windows. What is the problem that it was
So
it fixing? Was it bouncing or was it?
yeah, and I'm not exactly sure. It's tough to tell with the release now sometimes exactly. I don't know if this was a specific update to fix the bouncing or if it was sort of to help make sure the bouncing doesn't happen, or if it had nothing to do with the bouncing at all and it was just other calibrations. It's tough to say, but I've kind of seen multiple. Some people have said that it helped fix their bouncing. Some people said that it didn't. But if I I caution people because that's sort of an F-150 issue in general, really kind of a Ford issue. If I wouldn't necessarily rely on the OTA to fix it. I'm glad it did in this case, and for some people I've seen that it have. However, there's a trick, and I saw Martin suggest this to somebody the other day. If you on a Ford vehicle, if you're trying to recalibrate the windows because you're getting the up and down bouncing, you roll the window down, hold it down for 5 seconds, roll it up, hold it for 5 seconds, look it up. There's a whole like little procedure that I don't think there's much more than that. Sometimes you have to repeat it. I used to on the Bronco, they get out of the, because they're frameless windows, so it kind of gets a little wonky sometimes. So if it detects anything, it'll bounce. So I had to do it once on my Bronco, and it fixed it right away. So if you find that the OTA doesn't work, just do the recalibration thing. You can find it on Google in like 10 seconds for Ford vehicles, and that should fix it as well. So
Yeah, Martin's got all
it's
kinds of great tricks, man. He had this thing with my BMS he showed me where you pump the brakes 3 times, do the hokey pokey, and turn yourself around. I don't remember, but
that's another great one. There's TPMS ones and it all comes from the ice truck, So we used to use these things back on our ice truck too. So it's kind of funny how many things of those have carried over, and people are like, oh, I hate that Ford has accessory mode. Well, they have it because there's these procedures that they've used for years and years and years on their ICE vehicles that across the line, and of course there's pros and cons to it, but it's nice for us when we go to the tire shop and we need tires, they know exactly where the jacking points are, and they know, and they know exactly how to, reset the TPMS because it's just like the ice truck, so it's there's pros and cons to it for sure.
Yeah, there are areas where it kind of limits what it can do from a technology standpoint. Then there's areas of stability and predictability, ease of use, familiarity, all of those things. It was all part
I've
of
heard
what
horror stories about Rivian owners going to discount tire, and I just then I have the pucks, and so there's good things and bad things, all of it.
Tesla, I think, all has pucks, don't they? I don't know if that's still the case, but I remember there being Tesla pucks. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but the so yeah, this mobile adapter thing is one of those too that I would tell people, like, if you're not going to charge another EV, don't waste your money on the $500 mobile adapter, because there's just so much better value out there for the price. But if you are going to be charging another EV or wanting to do that, that's really the way to go, because it's the only one, and I've searched for others. It's the only one that is at 30 amps. Like, the standard is 32.
Yep. Yeah, unless you have one that you can turn down. Yeah, I mean, so
I've seen cars that you can turn down, but I have searched for, if anybody knows one, leave it in the comments. But I have never been able to find an actual mobile adapter that I could turn down.
The Grizzly Smart Mobile Connector. Yes, sir. You can turn it all the way down to I don't know, 9 or it's 8.
But isn't it in increments though? Isn't it in 8, 16, 24, 32? I think you got to go all the way down to 24.
No, let me look here.
Yeah,
it's cool.
Like it might make me buy one if you can actually get it to 30, because Grizzly makes a great product in general. But
I'm pretty sure
I've even on TikTok, where I don't know why I'm on it. I did it just because they were trying to ban it. So I was like, I'm going to get on this TikTok thing before it gets banned. And there's some Chinese charger manufacturers that have followed me and tried to, hey, we want to send you a charger. I've told them if you can send me one that I can adjust per amp, I would love to get it, and I will absolutely make a video with it. And I have searched. When I say around the world, I have gone to China searching. So I've messaged these people. Do you have one? I also have a dream to get one of them to send me a DC, like a low power DC one that I can have at the house, just because I have not gotten any of them convinced to do it yet. But no, my white whales, I try to find one that is adjustable that way. I would love to hear if the Grizzly is, because I would absolutely buy one if it is.
But
he's trying to get in there.
Of course. Oh, and now I didn't go through, so now I put it in.
You're locked out.
Friggin' junk mail. Oh, that's the worst. Hold on,
yeah,
I'll get it. But
this is a good value now that you've at least added the adapter in there. So it comes with a bundle of the mobile connector or the mobile adapter and the mobile, charger. So I may end up using mine finally at this Airbnb we're at. If it's got an area, I'm going to see if I can plug into it and use that mobile adapter. But I have one that's signed by Jim Farley, and I kind of don't want to use it. Don't want to use that.
I think too, I'd be curious too, like how many are truly, oh, here it is, max current. Let's see, 40. Yeah, you can tune it all the way to individual amps.
Really? I'm going to have to look at that.
Auto 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, all the way up to 40.
Get out of here. Okay. Yeah.
I have a couple tweets about it. Check it out. But
for sure.
Yeah, they were actually kind enough to send me that charger for free to go ahead and try to test it out for them and do some work on it. And that is the best mobile charger that I've seen on the market. Build quality, it works.
Do you have an affiliate link for you? Were you getting?
I don't think I have an affiliate link for them, but yeah, maybe I can talk to them about that and we can set that up. But yeah,
if I'm gonna buy one, I'm gonna send some money your way.
Yeah, appreciate it, man. Yeah, no, it's awesome. We used it up north, and it was really, really cool. Like I said, build quality is great. They include so they give you the adapters, but they're 1450 adapters. So each, that's their kind of adapter strategy. Which is super simple. I mean, there's like a couple that, we wouldn't really need here in America per se, but, I think they give you 4. Yeah, it's awesome.
What's up there, Martin? Chiming in.
Love it. Awesome. Good to see him.
TESX in Iowa. That's funny. That's awesome. I saw him message TESX, and I thought it was a typo. I thought he went to Texas and was just misspelling it. But now that he has added Iowa, I realize that it's a place called TESX in Iowa.
I kind of thought the same. That's funny that you say that.
So yeah, that's cool. Well, Marty, we'll have to get your Sifu, your master there, to join us on a podcast when you're back and kind of talk through that. And I think that would be a great technical conversation, is to see how these batteries are fixed, what you've learned, all those super secret things. Maybe even Tesla Winston would be a great person to have back on.
Yes.
He really knows this stuff. Love learning about the ins and outs of these. I think telling Martin, if you can fix the battery on these things, that takes away a huge anxiety that people always worry about,
Yeah.
If you got people that can do these things by the modules, that's certainly a huge advantage. So checking back out the XLT. I know this
too about the mobile power cord real quick though before we move on those. Something that I just kind of went through, so it's interesting to think about is how many people are ordering too versus buying off the lot, because a lot of these trucks, they're equipped with like what they're equipped with. I mean, my timing was kind of insane. There weren't many trucks available, and so I had to basically find what I could as quickly as possible. And, what it was optioned with was kind of what I got, and so it was optioned with the mobile power cord, not, it was 24, so it didn't have the adapter included, obviously, but it was, it does have the mobile power cord. And I will say it is the Gen 2 one, so it looks a little different. I'm not sure if internals or externals have been improved per se, but it does have the new Ford handle on it, or not non-Ford handle, I should say. It's black instead of white now. It's got like a softer touch, but yeah. So it came with the truck, and I think I got the adapter as well, the yellow adapter that they've been sending now. So
All right. Well, looking
yeah,
at
so
the
I think that's mostly everything new. Let's see. Yeah, let's okay. So yeah, I think max tow went up not this year, but last year it went up to 1,100 instead of I believe it was originally like 900 or 1,000. So that's gone up a little bit, but
this is one of the big things that I always have to call out to folks is that the standard now, I think for XLT and Flash, but Lariat the standard is still 9.6, right? Or is it all 2.4 now?
all 2.4 except platinum.
Okay.
So and that's the way it was for 2024 as well. I get that there's been some some animosity about that, and I get why. It's really more to do with not even that Ford hasn't optioned it. It's more of where it lines up in the pricing scale. So it just so happens that Lariat hits right at 79, 80,000, and so when you go ahead to try to update or upgrade that to the 9.6, it puts you over the 80,000. And I've seen some people kind of say it just stinks because they're hard to get from the dealer optioned with 9.6, and I agree that is the case, but the way I don't think it's deceptive marketing. I've seen people say that, a couple of people say it's deceptive. I don't find that deceptive because the standard in every F-150 is the 2.4 Pro Power. So that's the standard. So that's kind of why it's not separated out. And you have to remember that the Lightning has even more power than like the Power Boost. So you're at 9.6 instead of 7.2 or whatever it is. So there's a few different kind of levels to it. But yeah, moving on from that, I mean, there's now you can do like the retractable tonneau. That's pretty cool. They have a couple different options that you can add on now.
I know
the
from
TPMS camera has been there for a while.
I know from listening to Tim Bartz when he does his stuff that you want to check with your dealer and see if you're in a rush. Sometimes these tonneaus and bed liners and things, when they're done at the factory, it adds some time to the delivery, and and sometimes it doesn't. It just depends on how they're doing and what they're looking at, and they can kind of tell you more about that. And
yeah,
so
sometimes it's even like the spray in bed liner. Like there's just some. It could be like a material shortage. There's just all sorts of things that can kind of pop up, and yeah, that's a good piece of advice, because I think that we've seen some delay months, just one little thing.
I really wanted the spray and bed liner from Ford because I'm a dork and I fall for marketing, and I really wanted that Ford logo.
I know. I'm glad you didn't have it. I was very sad.
Yeah. The real quick for this child's life, they do not make a 2-door of the electric. Everything is 4-door super cabs. You could always duct tape the back door shut if you want to pretend that it's only got 2 doors. I guess you can weld it maybe Dukes of Hazzard style, but no, I think the big thing for the Lightning was they've even more so now they've tried to kind of limit the craziness of the selections. The gas F-150s, man, you can option those things to the hilt. You can literally get them without a bed on them and put your own box on the back of these things for the Super Duties and stuff, and make ambulances and all box trucks and all kinds of great campers. And so that with the Lightning, it had to be a little bit more limited, and yeah, good call out on the longer bed. They have up to 8-foot beds, and then for the gas vehicles, but no, with the electric, you're just with that 5.5. And then if you scroll down, though, you do have some bed extenders and some stuff back there.
And a lot of this is new. A lot of this is new to Lightning, at least I should say, not necessarily to F-150 and other vehicles, but they've added a lot more options coming from the factory this year. Like I believe the aluminum crossbed toolbox has been there for a bit, but yeah, it's cool to see the additions. One big thing that you'll notice is this year that the secure code has been deleted from all trims, really actually all vehicles that do not use phone as a key, which happens to be Mach-E and Lariat, Lightning, and Up. So you'll notice there that you do not see secure code password. I believe if you scroll down, Chris, it'll be on there, but it's important to note that does not come from the factory. That comes as a dealer installed accessory. So
yeah, and I think we'll see if it listed on here, but I again, one of the Tim Bart's live casts that I was listening to, I believe, and I always get confused if it stops at Lariat or Platinum, but they're keyless wireless ones. They're not wired when you do buy them. But it's either the Lariat or the
Correct.
Platinum, and it's probably the Platinum. It is still wired.
I
And so
believe
that one,
Lariat and Platinum are still both wired because they have the light and everything. They're
okay.
keeping them in the B pillar. But yeah, if you want to add it on later, it's a stick on.
Yeah.
It's a sticker, which is what I had on my Bronco as well. It did not have a secure code, and I wanted it. It was optioned without it from the dealer, and I wanted it. And it's $225 stick on keypad, and they do a quick, switch in FDRS basically, and it's activated. So another new one that I saw this year was mud flaps, which I thought was kind of cool. I believe that would probably be dealer installed as well, but down there they have the mud flaps, I believe, front and rear, which is cool.
Yeah, the Pro Powers here, by the way, it shows the $1,200 cost, so you can't option it. I wish they would put that option directly under the 2.4. I think that would just make it easier if directly underneath it had the 9.6.
Yeah, sure.
That for me is just such a, I would just have to have it. But again, everybody's different. And that's the whole point, is that it's a matter of being able to make it for, whatever the customer is. And not everybody needs the 240. There's a ton of people buying Rivians that don't miss the 240 or ever have a use for it.
Exactly. I mean, I think, I would, if I could be willing to guess, I would actually guess that the vast majority don't use it. That's probably my guess. But I could be very wrong on that, but yeah, really nothing to, the spare tire this year, that is delete as well. Yep. So if you want a spare tire, you'll have to add that on. Although I don't think they're not like gouging at all for that. It's like $180 addition. So that's pretty easy to add back on. And then the lock if you want that. But yeah,
18-inch spare tire and wheel, 175. I mean, I'm going to add that every single time. That's a big. Absolutely. I'd do the same thing if I had the Rivian. They've got that big space back there for a tire. I would absolutely buy a tire for that. Cybertruck famously doesn't have a spot for it. Don't understand that. Shout out. It is what it is. And this is, again, just different customers, right? Like in his thing.
Yeah, I mean, we've had this conversation so many times with people previous. That's why there's really nothing to address, in my opinion. I mean, you're right. It wasn't ground up. It didn't need to be. That's the crazy part, is Ford did such a great job with it not being ground up. The F-150 is already a great product, and you add on, you just make it better with an independent rear suspension, the electric powertrain, and then you add the frunk. I mean, that's why I think we're seeing people come back to the Lightning, because it's not a POS. We're seeing that people are like, actually, there's really big, pros to having it be based off the ICE platform. Of course, there's some cons to that too. Don't get me wrong. Right. I mean, absolutely, there's cons to it. But in the end, right now, I still believe that it is the best EV truck on the market, especially for the value. And it's been on sale for 3 years, and now you can't really argue otherwise, because it's the best selling EV truck in the United States.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to kind of circle back around to him after we had gone through and shown all of these accessories, because kind of my point about it, and to your point, Jace, is that because it has a shared bed, unlike Silverado, unlike Rivian, unlike Cybertruck, there are just a ton of these things, and they are the same stuff like you would get for the gas F-150s and the hybrids and the fleets and so there's a lot of reasons. A lot of Ford's business is in the fleet space, the municipality space, the construction and trades, and so to have this ability to upfit their vehicles in all of the traditional ways, the ways that you do in your roofing company with ladder racks, right? All of these things.
To the point where sometimes we can take stuff. I mean, our tonneau covers on its third truck. That's a perfect example of, and it went from ICE to Power Boost to EV, I mean, and that was a $1,500 accessory that we've now not had to buy 3 different times, so
yeah,
there's pros and cons for sure.
Yeah, there are people that want that dedicated EV platform. That's why the Rivian has such a great following. That's why people really love the Tesla brand. There's some huge advantages to what they're doing in the future with Ford. They are going to get there with their next generation, where it's being built from the ground up to be a technological forward, not using a lot of the legacy technology. And it's going to be funny because they're almost switching roles, where the Lightning really borrowed a lot from the existing platform. I think the future Super Duties are going to borrow a lot from the future Lightning type vehicles, where you're getting into that series hybrid. You're getting into a situation where you've got you're not running off the traditional engine anymore. You're using kind of that generator style thing into batteries, moving these big, expeditions and Super Duties and future Lightnings. And the smaller vehicles are going to be maybe all electric, which makes a lot more sense. I think that's their vision. Yeah. We'll see as they have more quarterly calls, but from the last couple quarterly calls, that seemed to be we had a whole episode about the Ford Pivot, and I think that's going to look a lot different in the future.
And I think not even the Ford Pivot, right? The American Pivot. I mean, we've seen, where we thought, everybody thought EVs were the next thing, and and they are, obviously, but I mean much sooner than it's happened, at least here in America, right? So
let's take a look at the Flash for a bit. Flash is the big one, man. That's the one where it's been moving a lot. It's kind of that middle ground, obviously, between the Lariat and the XLT. You finally get yourself into the extended range battery.
And I wanted to address Dan's comment real quick. I believe he's probably right about that. I actually wondered the same thing myself about the mud flaps, if they were Lightning logoed. I'm going to guess you're probably right about that. So if folks don't know, there's two sets of mud flaps. There's kind of one that's like a standard F-150. There's actually more than two, but there's many. But as far as that come from Ford that are sort of Lightning specific, there are a set of mud flaps specifically on the rear that have an embossment of Lightning. They look really cool. I've seen people even paint them blue and do some really neat things with them. And so, I can't really comment for sure. But if you want the Lightning ones, make sure you go online and order those ones. I actually had to reorder those myself after a couple of years for my Platinum as well. So make sure that you do get the Lightning ones.
I never, because I'm such a pavement princess out here, and I don't have icy roads or snow or salt.
They're really helpful with the snow, particularly actually on the fronts, because the snow builds up on the running boards. So it's nice to have that barrier in between, that and the running board.
Yeah, I've never even had them. Big call out here, and we've talked about this on a couple others, is the extended range battery is slightly different, right? And if you're lucky and you can find a build 1 2025 Flash, this is still the 132. So
which I have seen quite a like it is. I have seen them posted. So job ones were coming with the 131 kilowatt hour. I have not seen any job 2s posted with the 123 kilowatt hour yet. So we'll see kind of what happens and maybe get some further details. But I mean, it does seem, when you put the pieces together that, with the higher payload and, there's either a module removed or, something, because there is definitely a little bit of a higher payload. So it'll be interesting to kind of see more details on that, but I have not seen any for sale as of yet.
Then you get into the 13A package, which is giving you your vertical screen, your Blue Cruise, which is my failure where I didn't click on that, and my bad. But
Blue Cruise kind of works a little. Can you drill down into that? Does it give us the options as far as the Blue Cruise highway there? So
it's giving it 1.4. It's giving all the details.
What the plans are. No, it doesn't. Okay, so but to my knowledge, so I think we have a
it's just a 90-day trial to start with for this one.
90 day, and then I think you can buy a 1 year, I want to say, a 3 year, and then the lifetime. And then so they offer you this option, but then the dealer can offer you a different option, I believe, of the 3 year, or you can just buy it yourself, probably, honestly, too. There's a few different ways to accomplish it, but if you want to lump it all in, there's a couple different steps. On 2024 with my Platinum, it came with the 3 year plan, which some Platinums had optioned. Which was really nice.
Yeah, and this is something important to point out, is the Max trailer tow package, which I don't tow, so I didn't get one on mine, but this is gonna
change. Yes.
Yeah, if like I have the e-locker on mine.
Correct, and that was the change this year for, I believe, for 2025. I don't think that happened in 2024. If I'm not mistaken, that you need to option Max trailer tow to get the e-locker and the hill descent control. And obviously trailer brake and all that. So
And then I don't have the trailer brake. I don't have the increased towing capability. And
I didn't
is
either on mine.
is it max trailer tow package or is it tow technology package that gives you the extra cooling?
Max tow gives you extra cooling. That's a
Max
good
extra
question.
cooling. It's
Yes,
interesting they don't call that out here, but I think that is, if you're towing, that's a big benefit, I think.
definitely. Yep, and or DC fast charging in really hot weather, that could be another.
Yeah.
Even it's possible, even climate and because it does have, I believe, two intercoolers instead of the one. So, one dedicated to the cabin, one dedicated to the battery instead of one dedicated to both. So
Here you've got the kind of what used to be the lariat wheels on the
yep.
Flash, which I like those. Those are my favorite wheels.
Which I
New,
believe the Flash wheels were different, right? Or did they
uh,
always have the
I
last
feel like
year were
they
the Flash
always.
wheels different? I forget.
I could
Were
be
they always
wrong.
those?
Yeah, I think they were
Yeah,
always
I
these. I
can't
think that was
remember.
kind of the
Okay.
marriage between the two. But I'm assuming you agree that you like these because you swapped out your platinum for these.
Yeah, I like these the best. Yeah,
Yeah.
I like more sidewall too personally. So,
Yep.
I don't love the platinum wheels, but yeah. Oh, Dan just said mention. Yeah, so that was a really cool thing that Ford did. So if you had originally a 22 or 23 Lightning, and you had the 3-year trial that Ford offered at the time, which was pretty much everybody at that time, you Ford decided to give folks an extra free year of Blue Cruise. So they basically just said, here's an extra year added on to your trial. I know we've kind of talked about this a couple times on here, but it doesn't hurt to ask because I still see people not realizing it now. So just go into your Ford app there, into your connected services, and you'll see under Blue Cruise that there is an option for $0 essentially for another year, and you just click that, and that'll give you another year of Blue Cruise. So good call out there, Dan.
Then you just kind of, yeah.
Big thing. Sorry to interrupt you, Chris. The other big thing on Flash was now instead of cloth seats, it is now going to the Active X.
Yeah. Which I think is an
I've
upgrade.
seen it. Yeah, I do too. I've seen it, and it looks like though it's all gray instead of like the Lariat black and gray, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yep.
So that is a little bit of a distinction, I believe.
I don't think it's yeah. Oh, we haven't gotten to the interior. Maybe that's why it hasn't shown it
Okay.
yet. Yeah, then you've got all your tonneau and bed dividers, all the kind of stuff that we've talked
I
about
believe
before.
that was a change as well. Was the tailgate step is no longer included in Flash?
Yeah.
That was standard before. Now that moves away.
Is that here we go? Yeah, tailgate step with tailgate work surface. Again, that for me, that's a great benefit. Because I use my truck. We go to the drive-in movie theater. We get my wife and the kids get in and out of the bed of the truck. That step is really a big deal. It's a big part of it. So, to me, it's worth every bit of that $430. And right now with employee pricing, there's not probably a whole lot of places to haggle. But if you have one of these on the lot and you get outside of employee pricing and these things have been sitting on the lot and had price reductions, some of the best values aren't going to be in building one. Some of the best values are going to be what's in inventory sitting around. So I would personally look for one with a step in it myself.
Yeah, I would too. It'll be interesting to kind of see what will be optioned and not. Personally, I wouldn't go for a Flash just because it doesn't have phone as a key. And that rear slider, weirdly, that rear slider is like a deal breaker for me. But if I can't have a sunroof, I really want that rear slider.
Yeah, and it's another one we use for the drive-in a lot, where we're sitting in the bed of the truck and then we open up the windows, including the rear slider, and you get that audio coming through. We have some Bluetooth speakers as well, but that's all. It's all part of the fun is having that rear slider. The kids love to put their hand out of it, and then I'll flip the camera on the screen so they can see them wave to themselves and all those
awesome.
little.
Another thing is to remember is that Flash does not have that rear taillight bar. That's probably the other big thing that Flash does not have.
Yeah, it's funny how those little things, I like them. I like the rear, those little styling cues. It really does make a difference. I just think it looks cool. Here's that Active X you were talking about.
Yep. So you can see it's just a one tone instead of the Lariat that has like the two tone. Also a little bit different.
Yeah. So yeah, anything else different here that
I think are they now selling I believe I saw it. Maybe it's just on the ICE. Can you go up just a little bit? I thought they were selling the illuminated logo, but maybe that is just on the ICE F-150s.
Let's see.
click on exterior right there. Oh, that probably is. Yeah, if you're going up, that's
Oh,
probably going to be
exterior.
where let's
Oh, the
see.
where like is that where you open the door and the image shows?
No, the like the illuminated logo like you have on your truck.
Oh, yeah. Let's
They're
not.
selling it. I think it's dealer installed, but it must only be on the ICE truck, not the Lightning.
Yeah, it is. It is only on the ice truck. They have actually made an update that I have learned throughout my process because I do have the illuminated logo. This came up as a topic, not to get distracted.
No.
But if
I'm
you
very
go,
curious.
if you go to the website now, I'm going to claim it as the Chris Bow change. The illuminated LED specifically now says not to be used for the Lightning.
Okay.
So for those of you who have your illuminated LED logo on your truck and it is wired into your fuse box, I would highly recommend that you check out Martin Meek's video showing how to wire it into your headlight, which is the way that it's done on the ICE vehicles. Basically, had to make a wiring harness modification that you can get from Putco. And it's a much safer way to go about doing it, and it eliminates the question mark of if you're having 12-volt issues, which I have had for a bit. It came up as a topic, right? Like my frunk speakers came up as a topic. The lighted LED logo came up as a topic. These were all things that further complicated the troubleshooting of my truck, and I've had to spend extensive time explaining. And I did disconnect my LED logo at some point last year when I was having difficulties with the 12 volts to eliminate it as a possibility. But nonetheless, it is sitting there screaming out, "Hey, that is not factory. That is not stock." So that is, I love how it looks. It's obviously in my logo, as you can see in the background. I call it the goatee of the truck. It's got the handlebar mustache and the little goatee there on it. So I think it looks fantastic, but Ford does not want you to put that illuminated logo on your Lightning. So if you're going to do it, you should really avoid plugging it into your fuse box in any way. That would be my advice through experience. But yeah, then we.
Yeah, I don't think really anything else on Flash. I think pretty much everything else stays basically the same. Yeah, you got the B&O. Yeah, can't really think of anything too different there.
Yep. Let's kick back here. Do we want to continue through with the Lariat here?
Yeah, sure. Real quick. I don't think there was really, let's scroll through. I don't think there was really any big changes with the Lariat. Again, you get the NAX adapter. Same, sort of options there. 90-day, the tow package, you want to do the max trailer. Yep, $1,100. Yeah, I can't really think of off the top of my head if there was really any changes with the Lariat. Now, obviously, we don't have a standard range Lariat package anymore. So
right, yeah, the Pro Power is now an option.
Yes, yeah. So if you upgrade that, so yeah, you're at, what's the price there?
79. So you can add that and still be under the 80 you need to be under. That's the only thing I would add that, and then you kind of have to stop.
Yeah, but okay, but you can't add max tow then?
I cannot add max tow, I don't believe. Let's take a look. Tow technology max. Yeah, max is going to get you up over 80.
Take Dan's comment down there if you can. We can.
Oh yeah, sorry there. Yep. Yeah, you're and this is a bummer because it's just barely off. It's 80,185. I really wish they would have looked at that and found a way to get that.
I'm sure they did. I can't imagine they didn't look at it. It was a very high topic of feedback. But yeah, I don't know. There must be a really hard limit there. But I mean, at least I think if you added before max tow that it was over 80. So and 9.6 last year, if I'm not mistaken, either or. So now at least you could choose.
Actually, I think I want to stand corrected here. Let's scroll down and see it when we get to the bottom. But I maybe I'm wrong, but I believe the net price includes destination, and destination is not included in the tax incentive.
That's a good point.
So I do think it stays below 80. We'll see when we get to the bottom here, but I'm pretty sure there's like a $2,000 destination fee that's factored into this 80 that won't count against you. But I think the other stuff, like, add Blue Cruise later, add your tonneau cover later, add your, bed liner and your floor mats, add that stuff later because you really want to get that tax incentive. So we'll see as we scroll down here, but I'm feeling pretty good that it is going to it is going to, yeah, this is all your tonneaus, your bed covers. Of course, the Lariat, as it always has the sunroof, or is it called a sunroof, moonroof? What's the,
I don't know. Actually, that's a good question. I don't. I've kind of used them interchangeably. I think it's like the dual power moonroof. Maybe that sounds familiar.
yeah,
but
it's pretty darn cool.
Yeah, it's really nice.
Power
Actually,
folding
I do
mirrors.
enjoy it. Yes.
This is something we didn't call out in the other specs, but the Flash and the Flash and the XLT do not have the power folding mirrors.
Yep.
So these are call outs too, just by the way, for
and
folks.
Those are nice, especially for a
are.
wide truck. Like you can, I mean, I'm sure you use them all the time on your Lariat. Like it just,
Yep.
they, if you're on a street, they fold right in. You can auto fold them every time you're in and out of the truck. It's nice. It's also a really cool sort of way to tell if your truck is locked from a distance.
Yeah. No, I really appreciate it.
I'm like, did I lock it? And I'm like, oh, the mirrors are folded, so I know I did.
Yeah.
Okay, so destination's in there.
Yep, destination. So you can back out. You can back out that $21.95, and you can back out this acquisition fee of $6.95.
Okay.
And so I think that gets you. Here's your MSRP, but that for tax reasons. And again, let me just say I'm not a tax professional. Consult your tax professional. Talk to the dealer. A lot of these things are now on the hood at the time of purchase. So definitely verify this, but I am 95% that these get backed out and you do end up with an actual MSRP sticker that is below, because I think it's just these. It's your base MSRP, not your total MSRP, and plus your options. So I think
what is the S16 saying next to the total MSRP? That little.
See.
Can you click on that? Yeah, total is.
It's just showing everything that goes into there.
Yep.
Yeah. So
interesting. Yeah, we'll have to look more into that, because that I am very curious about that, because if they adjusted that and people can get both, that's a huge change. So that'd be great.
Yeah.
And then you would see dealers perhaps start ordering them, Yeah.
So. Yep, absolutely. Do
Platinum,
you want to scroll through the Platinum?
Yeah, I mean, real quick, I guess I really just wanted to see if they have do they list the three year on there or not?
I think
they do. So 1 year is included. Yeah, and actually I'm glad we did this because the Dark Elements package. So
yeah.
That is pretty cool. So the Platinum basically is nice because look at that. As soon as you hit it. Woo!
Yeah.
But Platinum's nice because you get tow technology package included. You get max trailer tow package included. Blue Cruise in my case. Man, that interior looks so good.
For $1,000, yeah, you got to get that.
No brainer.
Are you kidding me?
I want to order one, to be honest with you. Like,
look at that.
We would. This would be perfect. It looks.
Yeah, that looks sick.
I might even keep the wheels. I don't know.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm telling you, that's not my. It's not my jam right there.
No, I agree. For $1,000, like you said too. I mean,
yeah, are you kidding me? Yeah, that's the way. That is the way for sure. Yeah, and this one does come with your Pro Power 9.6,
which is honestly, that's what kind of honestly got me going to Platinum, is because I was struggling to really find anything that was really, I was struggling to find Lariats, period. I couldn't really find a Lariat, but especially a Lariat, optioned with Pro Power. So I was able to start kind of looking at Platinums, and that's kind of where I found it.
This is something unique to the Platinum too. They do have the available power deployable running boards. That's interesting that by putting on the power deployable running boards, it removes the Dark Elements package. I don't know why it would have to do that.
Interesting. Yeah, sometimes they do those little funky things. Sometimes that's a build and price thing that when you go ahead and put the package on with the dealer, it doesn't kick it out. But I've seen occasionally where it does.
And I don't know. Don't know if this is the change for 25, but at least for the 22s, even if you didn't have the power deployable running boards, the power is there, and it does exist because we have the zone lighting. So if your truck has zone lighting, you can pull those running boards out, put the power deployable, and it uses the same exact connector. I don't know if these running boards have changed. I'm just looking at the picture, and I don't see the lights on the running board. Do you know if that is a change?
That is so that rear light is no longer there, and that was actually a change for the 24. So my 24 Platinum does not have that light on the running boards.
Okay, so maybe
I'm not sure if power is there or not.
maybe that's it. Maybe that's well, that still doesn't make any sense. You could still do dark elements in all the other ways, but maybe when they build them at the factory, they build them without the wiring. Like that build of dark elements doesn't have the wiring for that or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, but like I said, if if you're out there listening, check with your dealer on all this kind of stuff. That's really the way to know for gosh darn sure. Somebody like Tim Bartz could tell you right in their ordering system right there if that is indeed the case or not.
And then you've got
the Platinum. Yep.
The B&O Unleashed sound system by Bang & Olufsen. And I've heard different reviews on this, man. You've been in both now. What do you think? Because you've got the Unleashed in yours. I'm a podcast listening guy, and I'm listening to the Beatles. I'm not going to know the difference, but
I it was funny. At first, I was like, oh, I didn't really notice. I noticed a difference, but I guess at first I was like, I don't know if it's that big of a difference. But I listen to pretty much all Apple Music, so I was like, I need to check though because I want to go into my settings and see what I have turned on. I set up my phone as new every year, so there's so many settings that when I get the new iPhone, there's so many settings that I miss that I forgot to reset up. And one of them was my Apple Music settings. And so I went in and I turned that up to lossless. And that made a world of a difference. And that sound system came alive. So that really, really helped. Was it like the best I've ever heard? No. But is it much, much better? Yeah. It's the bass is there. The mids are there. The treble's there. Much, much more so than the Lariat. There's no doubt.
All right. Well, that kind of goes through most of the 2025. I'm sure there's a detail there we've missed. If you know of one, drop it in the comments. Let us know if there's something that stands out to you on the 25 differences and kind of educate us. There's so many little things that change from year to year that it's understandable that things get missed. So, I
do want to check out that Lariat. If you could take the destination and get both of those optioned, I mean, that's huge. So.
Yeah. Tim Bartz, chime in.
Yeah, we need you, Tim.
We need you. Someone send out the bat signal for him.
Oh, I love it. Well, what do we want to end with? We thinking like, what's going on? What's up with your truck? I know you got to probably get going. You got a long road trip ahead of you.
Yeah, I think so kind of the update on my truck, and then I want to kind of close out with, speaking of dealers, just a video I saw from a dealer, Town & Country Ford.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
They do a whole bunch of videos, and I was watching it, and I was like, come on, guys. Like, hire yourself an EV specialist, They mean well, and it's there's some details worth touch on. But with mine, at your suggestion, I reached out to a friend of ours that we had met out in Detroit, and had a really great conversation with them and some folks this morning. And I do have the truck back now. Still trying to work through, what direction we're going to go with trying to figure out, is there going to be a buyback with it? Is there not going to be a buyback with it? I really emphasize that, look, I love the truck either way. And there's been some gremlins there, and let's review it. And if it makes sense to do a buyback, let's explore that. And if not, let's talk about, why you think that is and what we do moving forward if it continues, right? Like, kind of just want to have kind of everybody on the same page. And I think, it's well documented, the history, and it's well documented my love for the truck. Both things I often have to explain to people. We are not in a nuanced society anymore, right? People are very much in their tribes. You're on this side, you're that side, right? I even come into it when it comes to EVs. Like just because I wouldn't personally necessarily think that a Tesla is the right tool for the job when it comes to my family doesn't mean I don't like Tesla. Just because I can't afford a Lucid doesn't mean I don't think Lucids are great. Just because, the Rivian's not the right size for me, the size of fella that I am, and it doesn't have the 240, it doesn't mean I don't like Rivian. So similarly, when I point out the shortcomings or the gremlins and the things that I've experienced with my truck, it doesn't mean I suddenly hate the truck or that I wouldn't immediately turn around and get myself directly back into another one. I cherish that it's one of the first 22s. I cherish that it is literally signed by Jim Farley. I have had a lot of experiences with this truck. I am a completely different person now than I was 3 years ago before the truck. The friend circles that I'm in, the YouTube channel, the podcast, the places I've traveled, the places people I've met in the industry, the friends I've made, the EV things I've been to. Like there is no amount of money that I would ever trade for those experiences and those people and the generosity of the community. in all accounts. I mean, Rivian, Lucid, Tesla, Ford, all of them. It's a great community. I mentioned, William out in roaming Norway. I mean, potentially, a worldwide orbit of people that I've gotten to know.
Yeah.
So that kind of stuff to me is there's no value, there's no money value to that. So yeah, I think it was good that I had a conversation to, it cleared the air on some things, and we'll see where it lands. Either way, I'm going to be in a Ford, I'm going to be in a Lightning, and my thing is, if now's not the time for a buyback, and let's at least agree that if the problems continue to crop up, that we're all on the same page. That at what point is it? If not now, when?
Sure.
But I still love the truck. And so, yeah, I've got it back. I'm getting ready for a huge road trip. I'm super looking forward to it. This will be my first time having it integrated with Apple Maps that has the range and the stuff in it. I'm probably going to use a better route planner for most of the trip. But there'll be aspects of it where I'll go back to Apple because I'll be close enough that I don't, like on the long distance parts where I'm coming through the middle of California, I feel like, and I think you've mentioned this before, a better route planner is a little bit more accurate with it than Apple CarPlay seems to be a little bit on the pessimistic side, I think.
Definitely.
And I can't dynamically pick my stops as easily in Apple Maps, but then once I'm in and around a place that I'm at, and I only have one stop ahead of me, it's gonna be easier to use Apple Maps. So I'll play around with both. This will be my first time using the new Ford adapter, so that'll be cool. The Electron partnered adapter. I've yet to use that for DC charging, so I have that with me. So that'll just be fun. Not that it for any reason would make any difference whatsoever, but
no, I like that one though. It's fun. I like the Ford branding. Yeah. I don't know. It's just fun. And it's really convenient to use, especially not necessarily comparative to the new A to Z, but definitely comparative to the original OG Tesla adapter, where you're trying to find that switch underneath there. And I mean, I can do the Ford Electron one basically with one hand, and it's cool how I don't even know how I do it, but it just kind of comes naturally when you go ahead to the unplugging of, from vehicle out of the port back into the thing. There's this like hand thing that just makes sense, where the Tesla one, that was not the case. You're kind of like, I think this and that. It was just like a little funky. So
it does remind me, I need to sign up for the Tesla discount. I need to make sure I don't forget to do that. So probably when I'm off the podcast, I'll immediately go to my Tesla app and make sure I sign up for that for the next 30 days. So I have that available. And then, so that'll be cool. I do have one EA stop. We have a stop in Needles, California, where the hotel that we're staying at overnight. It literally has an EA in the parking lot. I mean,
that's fun. That's awesome.
And I would say that's as we kind of segue into how EV messaging, I think sometimes is failing and how we're doing it. One of the things that we'll talk about here. Here's Marty, by the way, chiming in. He ran EV Google. Yeah, man, Google EV routing all the way to Iowa, 1,000 miles. It was dead on. Of course, as luck would have it, I've spent years on Google Maps and Android Auto. And the moment that I switched to Apple Maps, all of a sudden Google gets their stuff together and comes up with a great route planner. So that's really cool.
That doesn't help us, Marty. Martin, we've got iPhones.
Shout out to Marty, who was supposed to send me one of his old Android phones that he never sent me, and now I'm remember that conversation, Marty? I'll say
overnight it.
That's funny. No, so I've got all my plans into a better route planner ready to go. So we're gonna do that and have fun with that. And then it's just kind of we miss you, buddy. We hope you're being safe out there, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'll share this kind of video that's from Town and Country Ford, and they do a bunch of stuff, and it's really good. But in this one case, as I was listening to it, I was like, man, guys, they did this 3-year review of their Lightning, and they kind of go through the things like for whatever reason they wore through their tires this is their second set of tires, and they had like 30-something thousand miles, which is, about what I've got on mine. I've still got plenty of life left on mine. Mm-hmm. I've seen people going 40,000 miles, but maybe they've been hammering it. They live in a different climate than I live in. They might be off-roading and playing with it more than I am.
Sure.
But yeah, they kind of went through and they talked about the rear tail light bar that you're looking at now, which is I've had 2 of mine replaced on it. There was a recall in general. I think most people have had theirs replaced. They called that out. And that was really the only problem they've had with theirs. It's otherwise been a great, reliable truck for them, and they talked through it. And I didn't have a problem with any of those comments at all that they were kind of talking about. I think where I got, as I was listening to it, and they were just showing the price on the light bar if you had to buy it, $3,000 for that light bar. I tell you what, the tail lights and the light bars on these things, man, are costly. Do not back into something on these, man.
Yeah, in my opinion, major key, if you're going to purchase an extended warranty on one of these from Granger or Flood, which is who you should buy it from, unless you are given it, you want to add the lighting rider. It just makes sense. Even the headlights too, I think are upwards of 1,800, 2,000, might even be more. I know on my estimate for my truck, it was incredible. Just the 2 sides and the lighting bill was like 5-6K. I mean, it was nuts.
Martin chiming in. You didn't even have a truck a week ago. Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. He's wasn't gonna send me an Android phone for the Ford Explorer that I was driving.
Yeah, very true.
Oh man. So yeah, at this point of the video, they kind of bring it into the workshop, right? Into where they were talking to a technician. So you've got a guy from Town and Country Ford. They also do custom stuff. They do upfitting, off-roading, lift kits, all that kind of stuff. It's a lot like Tim Bart's and his group. They have a lot of modifications. We talked about this earlier with the ice trucks. You can do a million things to these trucks. So they were walking through, talking to one of the technicians, talking about FDRS, talking about just working on them in general and different things. And it was just clear that, both of these guys are just much, much more familiar with their gas line. And that makes sense. A lot of dealers are like this, but this is one of the stuff that they kind of were talking about was they were talking about how they can repair the battery without replacing the whole pack. But they were comparing the battery pack to a 9-volt battery. Like, no, it's not anything like a 9-volt battery at all. I mean, it's a nuanced thing. It's it's nitpicking maybe at that point. But then he was talking about you can replace the cells. No, you can't really replace the cells. You're replacing the modules. Mm-hmm. And then he was talking about how there was a chemistry difference between the new Lightnings and the old Lightnings because the new ones could charge faster. And I'm like, no, that's just a software update. There's no chemistry difference. There's no wiring difference. Just now you can, get that boost up to 500 amps and it's going to hold your charge curve a little bit deeper into the pack. And, so it was just, again, maybe I'm nitpicking here, but I do think that when, this isn't just 2 guys that are gas trucks who this is their first experience with an EV. These are people that, as the review talks about, they've had this Lightning for 3 years. These are people that work on the truck, sell the truck. And I think this is why EV messaging is failing us, is because we don't do a good job of explaining this stuff. And this is the part where he's talking about the battery modules, right? And they're explaining how you can replace cells. And again, it's I'm sure he knows that it's the module, but he's referring to it as a cell, and he's referring to it as a 9-volt, even though it looks nothing like that. And it's not. Yeah. Again, it's me nitpicking, but in terms of when you're communicating to an audience of thousands of people, these people have 312,000 subscribers. Right? It's already
17,000 views.
17,000 views in a day. Right. And so this is part of the challenge, is this is how things get out there. And they're like, well, my dealer said this and I saw this, and they start making memes of 9-volt batteries. And then they talk about in this at some point, how it is great for around town driving. But if you're someone that has to go into other towns, maybe it's not the right fit for you. And I'm like, what are you talking about, man? I'm about to do a trip to the Grand Canyon from San Francisco and 2,500 miles over the course of a couple of weeks. But it's the way
you drive to a different town every day for work. I mean,
every day, right? I'm going across 3 different towns, and so it's like, absolutely. It was just one of those things, like you're messaging. And this is, again, it just struck me because these are the people at a literal Ford dealer, literally working here. They're showing the FDRS and stuff. And they were talking about how they still have Blue Cruise 1.0. And I'm like, dude, you literally have FDRS, upgrade it to 1.4. You can do it. You don't. Yeah. They just don't know it, or they don't realize it, or they don't know how to update the modules. It's there, but a lot of these guys don't realize it. And so We've learned a lot of that from Marty, all those different things that are possible within FDRS. And so it just really struck me considering the source. And so as I kind of went through, they also were doing this highway rate. They were talking about battery degradation. And they're like, hey, they went in and they saw the state of health set 100%. And this is on a 3-year-old truck. And he was mentioning how this truck has been charged to 100% for most of its life. Like they charge it to 100 regularly. They don't do the 80 or the 90%. And how remarkable it was that it was still at 100%. But is it really at 100%? Let's go do a drive. Let's go do a range test. And so they charged it up and they went to do a range test. And we're talking about how the state of health set 100%. Well, that, the state of health, we talked about this before on the car scanner. State of health, because it says 90, 98.5 or 99 or 100. I've seen it change. The BMS calibration. There's any number of things. Hey, EV Geek, good to see you, man. New. I'm gonna get it wrong, but EV Geek, for those that don't know, was the new influencer of the year. I know I'm getting that award wrong.
Yeah, new EV influencer maybe or something. Yeah.
So amazing.
Awesome. Congratulations.
The guys are a content factory, man. I marvel at the amount of stuff that they get to drive. They've got great relationships with their local dealers. And yeah, they just do.
That's funny, Chris. Sorry to interrupt. While you see that, do you see the rear view camera has the black bars on it?
Oh, because it was updated wrong?
Yeah. So you can tell there's some missing things there with FDRS and such.
Yeah. So I left them a comment. I said, hey, I mean this with love, but you guys just, when you make one of these videos, get an EV expert from your team or kind of reach out to somebody. And you guys do a great job with your video quality, your presentation, your stuff is really fantastic, but I think there's some gaps there. And so they were talking about, let's go do a real range test, and they're on the highway driving here with Blue Cruise, which is great. But then they come out with, like, I don't remember the number, like 268 miles or something like that, right? And okay, the battery maybe is degraded some, or you're not really going to get your EPA mileage, but they don't explain that that EPA mileage is not highway miles. That EPA miles is mixed use city driving. If you would have driven it around town for the entire week and never gotten on a freeway, you'd have gotten better than the 320 miles that it projected. And so just all those kind of explaining it wrong, I think, is what kind of got to me. And I was like, it is the opposite of gas. It around town, it's all in my standard range, I can get regularly 270 miles from a truck that's rated at 230, because so much of my time is spent around town, rush hour Bay Area traffic. I'm not going very fast. But when I drive here tomorrow, I'll be lucky to go 170, maybe 180 if I'm lucky, between stops, because it works opposite of gas. Whereas if you're in a gas F-150, you can get 900 miles on a 36-gallon tank if you're driving down the highway at a nice steady pace. But it would be like if I made an F-150 gas vehicle and drove it around town the way I do, and then said, oh, look, it's rated at 25 miles per gallon on this, and it's supposed to be getting 900 miles, but look, I only got 675. Well, because look how you're driving it. If I drove a gas vehicle the way I drive my Lightning, it would get, and then they referred to it and said, hey, you'd probably want to get one of these gas vehicles because it's more efficient. I'm like, no, there is no scenario. There's no scenario where it's more efficient. It holds more, it has more energy density, it has more capacity for storage, but it is not more efficient. And again, maybe I'm nitpicking, right? It's
but I think it's important, and you read the thing and they're like, whether you're EV curious or blah blah blah. I mean, I think it's important to give people, no matter what knowledge level they're at, the facts, not unfortunately, some not facts.
So I'm not really one to ever try to talk down to anybody else's content. Their content, they have 1,000% more followers than I do. They get a lot more views than I do, and they do a lot better content than I do. I'm just saying, hey man, for as good as you're better, right? You're too good, you're too smart to not take the time on a product that you're selling to just take go to whoever in your town and country Ford is your expert, right? And just say, hey, we're going to make this video. Let's get together. Like, if you're not going to be a part of it, at least fact check me. Let's talk together about the
Absolutely.
script.
And it wasn't a bad review, right? I mean, it was
No,
overall a very positive
Yes.
video, but not necessarily factual
Yeah, and
in
that was
all
kind of
aspects.
yeah, that was the kind of shame of it was, hey, here's this great. We've had it for 3 years. We've been charging it to 100%. The only thing we've had is a set of tires and a light bar that was handled under
Yeah.
recall. We've had no other problems with it. It's a 22 Lariat. It is the yin to my yang. Whereas I have had nothing but gremlins, they have had nothing but success. So I know these trucks are out there that are fantastic.
We had two of them ourselves. Yeah,
Right.
we've had same thing. It was literally tires and light bar. That's the two issues that we had with our two Lariats. I shouldn't even not issues. I mean, the only honestly, my light bar was on my standard range was replaced and it never had water in it. It never got water in it, but it was replaced before it even got water. And then Justin's did have to be it did get water in it. It did have to be replaced. But after they were both replaced, it had been almost 2 years and no issues again. And we're in, salt and ice and snow, and Justin's truck sat outside. Sits outside every night, and it's still good to this day, 2 years later. So I'm going to knock on wood on that one, but yeah.
So yeah, I mean, you just went and did this great thing and got thousands of views about how successful the Lightning has been. That should help you sell some, except you just took a big set of your customer base and you told them, like, unless you're driving, you don't talk about route planning. You don't talk about how the Tesla superchargers are available to you, how the adapter is available, how there's thousands of options. And yes, it has to be different. It's not the same. You don't ignore that. You don't gloss over it. But I think I think there's some people that are going to watch this video that if you gave them a better representation of it and its capabilities, that they, because of the way it was presented, they're going to immediately take themselves out. Well, it's not ready for me yet. It doesn't have the range yet. It can't do what I do yet. And for certain people, that is true. Again, I've never been somebody that said that it's the right tool for all jobs, but for a lot of their customers, I promise you, there are people that watch that video who, if they would have just presented it a little bit better, I think could have been some customers that otherwise, if they don't get that information corrected, are probably not going to consider it. And it's too bad, Yeah,
definitely. And it's like you said, it's really almost, it's not full like lies. It's just sort of some misconstrued things, maybe some misunderstandings. And like you said, maybe even some just like misuse of words, which, can really change though, really how that information is received, especially who don't, necessarily know that they mean module when they say sub,
Yep. Martin saying his has been 99% trouble free, just a 12-volt battery, and
knock on wood. Just keep knocking because I feel bad every time I say something on. So I try not. I honestly try to avoid it. I really do because I don't want to say, "Oh, we've been trouble free. We haven't had a damn problem." And then
don't bring that energy. Yeah, don't bring those thoughts.
I don't want to think about it. So especially recently, we've had enough trouble. So
yeah, I am on 12-volt battery number 4, and I have number 5 already in the front.
Oh,
literally,
thanks, man.
Yeah, look at EV Geek. You're killing me with that, man. You're up here. You don't need to, but I appreciate that. That's a huge contribution, man. Thank you for that. And it's all orange. I've never seen that before. That's super cool. That's cool. Thank you, guys.
Hey, sorry.
Killing me. No,
I'm killing you with this noise. We just finished up, so I thought I would. Paul's still running bolts in, but I thought I would join the last part of the chat while you're still here.
Yeah, it's not going to make for a good broadcast though if he's got his air gun out there.
It's pretty loud,
but it is cool. I saw the battery pack out there already on that table. So
yeah,
that's awesome to see him.
I just wanted to join because he's finishing up.
Awesome.
Is that a battery pack over your shoulder there?
Yeah, this is one that I was going to bring back home. So I brought 2 batteries up here and was taking one back. And this is the one I was going to take back, but we just put it in the car and it doesn't work.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so it's got to come back apart. So we've got a Model S on the lift we're using to test battery. So we'll just throw one in 10 or 15 minutes and see if it works.
Oh, so, cool.
Sorry. Not trying to hijack. I just want to join.
No,
Oh, that's
love
cool.
it, man. Just so you know, if it helps, according to Town and Country Ford, there's just 9-volt batteries in there, and you can replace the cells. So
Yeah.
head down to Costco, grab a bunch of 9-volts, man, and open that pack up, and let's get it alive again.
I've learned a lot today, so I'll walk over here and show you why we're doing this. What they look like when you take one apart. Yeah, sorry, I'm all.
Now
over
you gotta
Paul's
peel.
top.
You gotta peel those tops off. Aren't they sealed? Yeah, you gotta have to mute himself. Yeah, it's gonna be. This will be.
Unmute.
Yeah, this is fun stuff, man. If you've never seen one of Martin Meek's videos, I'll throw the banners up, and later at some point we'll put the we'll put the links to his channel, man. When he rebuilds these things, and it's always funny to watch him. He's got these big old air guns, like pulling apart the suspension of the trucks, like
I don't know if you guys can see that.
Oh yeah.
So those are the cells. Each
There
one
you
of these
go.
is a little like a 18650 cell. It looks like a battery out of a flashlight.
Everybody okay?
I think
He's just moving the jack around. I'm finished with what I'm doing. I just thought I would jump in because we're finishing up for the night. So been going since 7 this
that's
morning.
awesome.
It's been a busy day. Worked on, I don't know, 5 or 6 batteries today. I don't know if you can see this behind me.
Wow.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Those are all Tesla batteries. Everything you see there is just a stack of them.
Nice.
So yeah, they're yeah. So you're right. It's just a bunch of 9-volt batteries in there. You can just they'll just wear out like any other battery, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, I assume you start off by touching it to your tongue to see if if it's getting the power.
Exactly.
I joked about that. As an individual cell, it's no big deal. It's when you put them all in series that's the problem.
When you put 1,000 of them together, that's what gets you in trouble.
That gets you a little sparky.
I hear you can just put D size in there. If you run out of 9 volts or whatever, you can just throw any size in there and it's a couple triple A's, whatever.
Yeah, we'll just 3D print an adapter. Everything will be fine.
Oh, this is great stuff, man.
That was awesome. That was exactly what we needed to cap this off. That was hilarious.
Yeah, that's a perfect way to wrap up the podcast. Funny enough, because Martin is always the one that I did muddle through starting the podcast. I'm not exactly sure how to end it. There is an end stream, but then Marty, when you hit end stream, does it throw the end thing at it, or do you manually have to hit?
No,
the
you
end?
hit end stream and then hit click, and then you're out. So
okay,
boom.
I didn't want to hit end stream, and all of a sudden we all disappear, and then everybody's like, "Well, that was an abrupt end to the show."
Oh, that's great.
No, you gotta kind of take us out.
Any parting words before we test the end stream button, Martin?
Oh, it's been a long day. I've been going all day, and if anybody's out there thinking that you can pull Tesla Park batteries and do it, because Paul and I have been talking about this all day. It is not for the faint of heart. You can't just take a battery out of one cart and throw it in the other and expect it to work. There's software you have to reload. I'm learning so much more than what I knew about a month ago. And this is specific to Tesla because this is what Paul specializes in. But when you start talking about Lightnings and Mach-E's, it's very similar infrastructure. The software has to be reloaded. There are things you have to do that's very similar. So EVs in general, none of them are reinventing the wheel drastically. It's still a pack under the bottom that comes out the bottom of the car. So yeah, I'll have a lot more content coming after this weekend. I just wanted to jump in and help cap off this. Maybe I can lead you guys out.
I love it.
Yeah, that'd be cool, man. It's going to be great to hear back on the things that you've learned and maybe doing some compare and contrast and, hey, how does what's different? What's the same? It's going to be really great to hear all those details. We need to get you both on one of these Thursday nights and just kind of talk through it.
Yep. Paul was down tonight. If we weren't right in the middle of putting these 2 packs in and out of this car, we were going to try to jump on and have him walk through some of the things that he's done. It's funny because when you pull in here, he's in northwest Iowa, and when you pull in here, it's a farm. I mean, I drove through 200 miles of corn and planting, and you pull up and there's like 50 Model S and Model X Tesla sitting here. They're all over the place, and from parts cars to customers' cars, and then batteries like you see behind me just stacked up, sitting everywhere in this barn, this big, huge building in Iowa. It's I feel right at home. So yeah.
So is he rebuilding the way you rebuild Lightnings, and then he's selling
No.
them, and then he just keeps going? What's he doing?
No, he is a repair shop that specializes in battery packs and rebuilding battery packs, and rear drive motors and front drive motors. So he's trying to stay pretty specialized, kind of like I'm staying mostly specialized in wrecked stuff. I'm going to get into a little bit of this EV repair as we go along, as we find people that are close, that maybe they have a Model X or a Model S that needs a battery, needs a large drive unit repaired. I'm going to try to do a little bit of that just because there'll be a demand for it as especially as we start seeing Lightnings get some age to them. You know, as they start timing out a warranty and stuff, Ford's going to want to do the same thing that Tesla does and just throw packs at it or modules. And they're going to be more to it than that. I think there'll be some ability to fix on a micro level, a cell level in a Ford, because it's a pouch and you should be able to re-weld those pouches. Now, I'm not saying I'm going to be able to do that yet, but changing a module out of a Tesla can be done just like changing a module out of a Ford. The problem with it is when you get 100,000, 150,000 miles, the cell imbalance is what you're starting to fight. You know, some of them will be higher than others. If you take one out of one car and throw it in another car, it might not balance out. It might not be happy because it's been living with the other ones and going up and down in charge with the other ones like the rest of it. So, yeah.
The genius person is going to be the one that figures out some type of module, some type of battery management system that takes all of that and either rebalances it or deals with the imbalance.
They have it. Paul and I were talking about that today. What it boils down to is each individual cell has an amount of resistance. So as you drive a car and you supercharge or you AC charge, you're killing the batteries in that cell by little by little by little. So as they go up and down in charge, that's going to happen faster on some than it does on others based on how it was charged its whole life. So it's not, that's why Tesla typically just want to do a new pack. They don't just want to do individual modules. And it's really difficult to find a module that has the same resistance level throughout the whole. There's like 5 bricks in each module. And I don't remember 77 or something cells. There's a lot of numbers flying here today. But this has been a situation where you don't just take one out and throw it. Because we just had this one we pulled out. It's got 2 modules in it that were wet, had water in them. And so we cleaned it and cleaned everything up. The little board on the end, we changed those out, but it didn't quite take care of it. It didn't quite fix it. Something's not happy. So you don't just take 2 out of another one and throw it in there because the resistances are off. And he said that might run that way for a month or 2, and then it's gonna be mad. They'll get so out of balance that the car will say, no, I'm not happy.
It's as much art as science, man. You really got to understand what the heck's going on with it.
Yeah. That's the reason for the trip. I have a Tesla that I brought that I need to get the battery fixed on, but that wasn't the core reason for me coming. The more reason for me coming today was to learn more about this from a guy who, you know, he spent 2 hours on the phone at 5 o'clock this morning with Kyle Connor talking just stuff.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean,
Super
so
cool.
it was okay. Paul knows so much about this and a shop that you can see. It's just a great big workshop. But
yeah, it's awesome.
I wanted that so I could help spread that. I mean, that was the point of this. It's the point of all this, right? We're going to help spread the awareness, the ability to, whether it's Tesla or whatever. I don't care about the politics of it at all. I just think it's cool what we're using a different energy source, and we're learning about that and trying to spread like you mentioned that video. We watched that video today that he posted from the Ford dealer, and some of the information was accurate, but a lot of it was
right
shedding the light that I felt like it should have been, not from a neutral standpoint. So
yeah. And it's cool. What I really love is I love seeing a guy in Iowa and a guy from Kansas doing this stuff, because you always hear about the coasts and you hear right, but it's just a matter of getting. This is why that accurate information is so important. Because if it's misunderstood or if it's not explained right, you know, there's a bunch of people right there in Iowa and in Kansas that would love this stuff, and they just have to discover it. They just have to get the butt in the seat. They just have to have it presented in the right way.
I asked him that when I pulled in. I said, how do you deal with having 25 or 30 Teslas right out front and all these farmers? He said, they'll pull in and look all confused, EV hate, and then he takes them for a ride in one. And then they go, how much are these again?
Yeah.
So
I've I've always said, man, the key is someone needs to bring back Knight Rider. They've rebooted a bunch of series, right? Bring back Knight Rider with an EV, right?
There you
It's
go.
screaming for like a Tesla with FSD and some kind of cool series. That someone needs to get the marketing department in and and just show this technology. It is the Dukes of Hazzard is too controversial, but man, let's
Yeah.
start jumping EVs. Let's start racing and avoiding the police. Let's be Smokey and the Bandit. I'm aging myself with these movies now.
Oh
These are
no,
the-
you're right there. I think
These
you're
are the
right.
classic.
The new Charger is getting so much crap. I think it's perfect for a reboot. Let's do it.
Yeah, absolutely, man. That's part of what I loved about the first time I discovered Out of Spec, and I saw them doing these long drives. It reminded me of like Cannonball Run, or it reminded me of Smokey and the Bandit. And these are, yeah, there's plenty of cool stuff about EVs, man, and it's just a matter of getting people to discover them. And yeah, they're different tools, and they're different how you plan on them, but it's fun, man. It's almost like a pit stop when you're trying to pull up to, and you're looking at the map. Which EA? How full is it? Is this a 350? You know, is that a version 2 or a version 3? When they were
And I think it's
handle-
more fun now that we have options. You know, I remember in 2021 with my Mach-E where there were some times where it maybe wasn't so fun, right? Because like for various reasons, you know, if their one was down or what, you know, whatever. But now, I mean, I'm coming across where I have options, you know, I have choices.
Yep.
So I can kind of choose and pick and do what I want, you know, and I think that has helped eliminate a lot of that as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going all Tesla chargers for the most part, because there's so many of them, and you know, it's not, and the Lightning can charge just fine on a Tesla, and then there's the one EA, but it just makes sense if you're going to do it, you want to buy the discount. You're either going to buy the EA plan or the Tesla plan for your trip and get the lowest price. But there's so many options. Like,
yeah, I'm halfway through this trip. And I ran Tesla the entire way until I got to northwestern Iowa, and I had to move over to Charge Point, and I'm charging on level 2 here at his shop. And buying that plan is a big deal. Now I'll warn some people. I don't have any idea, and I think I talked to you guys earlier this week. I love my A to Z adapter. It's my go-to adapter. I just like the ergonomics, and I couldn't get it to work. I had to go back to the Ford one. Right. I'm going to try it at that charger when I go home and try it again, see if it was a fluke. But so the magic docks are turned off on some of these stations. These they wouldn't release, and so you have to use the adapter. So just that might move that note out there to make sure you've got your at least your factory Ford adapter. If you've got one available, take it with you. I had 3 in the truck, so I just kept trying them to one word.
Yeah, I always bring a couple spares. Just because if I pull up and somebody doesn't have their adapter and is new to the EVs, I've had it happen where I've broken out one of my A to Zs and I've given it to them. I love the A to Z. This will be my first time trying. I don't know if you were listening, but I'm trying to elect the new Ford branded Electron one for the first time.
Yeah.
So that'll be.
That's the one I had to run this weekend to get it to work. It was the Ford one. I've used it because I didn't want to fight stations. I was in a hurry leaving from eastern Iowa all the way across. I just used it and it worked every time, first time. Now, I will say Ford has really expanded the plug and charge. I never got an app out except for Tesla on non-Tesla chargers. I was at a couple of Ford dealers and I was at that charge point. I used to use the charge assist, activate, and it went right through. It was pretty flawless.
Yeah, I wish they could get. There was a whole out of spec episode about roaming between networks and plug and charge and all that kind of stuff. And I wish they would all come together and get it to where they could share certificates across all the networks and have it where you could get those discounts so that you could, you didn't have to go and break out a different app or use a credit card or get different plans. And hopefully one day we'll get there. Iona, I guess, is very much open to it. And it's just a matter of getting everybody else on board to it.
Yeah.
If I could just get Tesla to do it, where Tesla was on plug and charge with my membership, that's when I'm running 99% of the time. That'd be great. Then you just get out, plug in, just like you would a Tesla, a car.
Yep. Yeah.
But you learn to get the app kind of pulled up as you're pulling in, and then start charging. I'm here when you see the post number. It's pretty flawless when you get going.
I'm lazy. I just use plug and charge all the time.
Yeah,
You just pay the extra. You just pay the extra on that, or?
I don't care.
I'm
But
on
it's
9 charges
I can't.
to get to here, so
No, yeah, it's a little different. But for us, it's 2 or 3 up to northern Michigan. But we don't. There's no Tesla superchargers north of like Saginaw. There's one Bay City, and that's it. So we, it makes no sense because we have to use other networks, or just like we're going sort of out of our way to only use Tesla superchargers. So, and that doesn't make any sense either. So.
Yeah, it's crazy. There's actually there's even a Tesla supercharger at the hotel we're staying at the Grand Canyon. It's
crazy.
And that's it. I enjoy
we're
that.
just not quite like that over here yet. We're just not quite there yet. We're getting better, and CCS is growing a lot here, which I think has a lot to do with us, being close to the big 3 and Detroit and stuff. But we're just not quite there, especially in northern Michigan. There is not a V3 other than Mackinac Island and Bay City. There's not another V3 anywhere near there within 200 miles. It's crazy.
Yeah, and Needles has it, but we chose the EA because there wasn't a hotel where the Tesla charger was, and I'm going to charge it to 100%, which I normally wouldn't do, of course, but
road
for the
trip is
next
fine.
What's that?
Yeah,
road trip, that's fine. If you're going to be at 100 and going the next day, I could do that. We had Drew and Jennifer on. He's charged his truck to 100% every day from always, and he's still at like 96% at over 100,000 miles. So
I remember when Ford told me back in the day, they signed off on 100% every day. They're like, this was in like 2022 before the truck even launched. They're like, we signed off on 100% every day. We say 90 in the manual, but we built it to last.
That buffer.
Yeah. There's been guys do that 100% every day, and they don't have a problem. But I'll be anxious to hear next week, Chris, how your trip went whenever you get back, because I'm running the exact same trip. We're going to Grand Canyon in June, and that'll be like 3,500 miles. I want to hear how yours went, because I'm going to kind of mimic some of that.
It'll be the one after that, because Thursday, if we get together Thursday, our Grand Canyon trip is Friday. Although I think we'll have to check out Thursday. I might not be able to join you now that I'm thinking of it. I think I leave Thursday. We'll have to see the timing. I feel like I stay overnight Thursday. The train is on Friday, and we start driving home Friday. So maybe I'll be at the Grand Canyon Hotel on Thursday night. I'll have to look at the timing. I think that's what will happen.
Get you an impact wrench and just crash in like I did.
I'll do it. I'll do it from the Grand Canyon train. Maybe.
There you go. Get the horn going.
I'm picking up my truck from Tint and Ceramic tomorrow, so I'm very excited to see how it looks. I can't wait.
It looks so good tinted. The
tint just like sets it off. Those big windows too, in the F-150. But like, I'm so excited.
You got to tint it, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
All right. Well, it's always funny to me because we get to the end of the show, and it's like we have the most people right now, like on between X and the YouTube. The most amount of people are right now at the end of the show. So for those of you that are just joining us, rewind back, watch the whole thing. I don't know if
maybe
we'll
push later. I don't know. Maybe we'll work on our timing a little bit. Maybe 9 to 11 instead of 8 to 10.
Yeah, because it is like 11 o'clock on the East Coast. I don't know where everybody's at. So this is funny. See, 22 Chihuahua. I don't know if that's actually how you say that name. TC Customs did a review on the 22 Lightning that was charged mostly 100%. We rewind back. We actually talked about that Town and Country video. Actually, that was kind of what inspired the why EV messaging is failing, because it was a great review. They did mention they charged to 100%, and overall the review of the truck was awesome. And then they had those moments in the review, where I think they didn't do justice to how awesome and how flexible it is for things like road trips, for things like going hundreds of miles, and for how much infrastructure there is, all the stuff we just talked about, right? They didn't talk about any of this stuff that we're now talking about. So and it's go back and listen and tell us what you think. Tell us what you think about our commentary. If we were too harsh on Town and Country Ford, or Town and Country Customs, correct, is actually their name. But yeah, great video, all except for that part of the conversation that they kind of left out. And I'm like, come on, guys. Like,
probably due to lack of experience, unfortunately, too. So
it'd
be nice to kind of see, someone who has a little bit more experience,
Yep. But yeah, funny enough, we were just watching and talking about that video together. So yeah, cool. I love that.
We all are a little biased. We are a little biased of the Lightning. I got to tell you, I mean, when you talk to the average Joe who doesn't care about an EV or not, don't necessarily buy in as much as we do. So
Right.
as much as I love it, I think the reality of it is they're not completely wrong. When they try to, it's misinformation. I agree, but it's not. I don't think it's grossly bad. It's just a matter of, yeah.
I think they represent more like the average customer, and they have a lot of the misunderstanding that the average customer does. And I just feel like in that role, with that platform, with that amount of followers, it's a great opportunity to help bridge the gap, to help that EV messaging kind of get through to some folks and still be honest about where it's limited. I mean, you're showing literally that you can tow with it. Would that be for everybody with what you have to go through and how you have to plan it?
No.
And no, right? No, it's not for everybody at all. I always say that, is an EV right for you? Well, first off, do you want one? If you want one, you can make it work. If you're hesitant, then yeah, it depends. Can you charge at home? Then absolutely an EV works. Or are you doing 100-mile road trips every day in your commute? Maybe then it doesn't make sense. Are you in the trades? Are you towing super heavy stuff? Are you coming from a super duty? Like, this isn't a super duty, right? So, I always say that
Jennifer they had super duties and came out of it. So it's right tool for the right job.
Right.
And I think I'm going to modify that for the right situation, because it just depends on what you're doing. I mean, the Lightning can do more than a half ton. Not as much as a diesel Super Duty, but it fills a need in there in the middle. My middle daughter is coming out of her Tesla Model 3. She's done. She's tired of charging. She's tired of waiting on the car. We're putting her in a Mustang, not a Mach-E, just a Mustang. And so I don't blame her for having to. Yeah, I know. Well, it's an EcoBoost. It's going to get 30 mile a gallon. And she's moving to Florida in an apartment. So again, the right tool for the right job, she's not going to have level 2 charging. And I think it's probably a good move for her. I hate it because I want to help her in a Mach-E, but she didn't want it. So we're making it work.
If she doesn't have charging at the apartment, doesn't have charging at her work or at a school, then can you make it work if you want to? Absolutely you can, but it's not the most convenient choice.
I mean, all these Teslas that are sitting here on lifts and stuff, they're all free supercharging cars. So you could make these cars work in certain situations if you don't have level 2, but that's kind of a rarity. You don't see the free supercharging anymore.
Yep.
Unless you're trying to buy a Cybertruck.
Shout out Cybertruck. How are you going to sell it? Give some free supercharging away.
$10,500 in free supercharging. We'll see. Will it be enough?
I think so, because most people are still charging at home. We checked out 6 batteries today in these Model S batteries. It shows you the DC fast charging history and the AC fast charging history. And all free supercharging cars, these had 75% AC charging.
Wow.
They're still charging them at home.
Ford got it right, man. Home is where the charge is. That is the truth. That's where EVs make the most sense, when you can charge them at home, especially if you have solar. But even if you don't, your electrical rates in most parts of the country, it's gonna cover your needs most of the time.
Amen.
No doubt.
Well, that's an awesome way to send us home. For all of you
where the charge is.
Yes, sir. You wanna shout us out of here, Mr. Martin, and then I'll hit the end stream.
Yeah, thanks everybody for joining. Thanks for letting me crash the last part of the podcast. I'm sorry I was late, or I didn't even think I was going to be here, but we got done early. So, hey, we'll see you guys next week. Chris, if you're on the road, we'll be looking for hearing back from you. Jace, we'll talk to you then. Everybody,
Sounds
thanks
good.
for joining.
Thanks
Have a good night, guys.